What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside Inter Miami. I'm Andre Fernandez, your host, joined as always by Michelle Kaufman, our Inter Miami beat writer, back to talk some more about this team that never ceases to provide news, whether it's good, bad, a little bit in between. A lot more excitement from this squad from last week. Lionel Messi comes back from injury, came to the rescue, leads Inter Miami to a much-needed 3-1 victory over the LA Galaxy. But then he feels a little discomfort during the game, tweaked something, hasn't practiced with the team, and now it's up in the air whether he'll be back in time tonight to play in the League's Cup quarterfinals against Tigres, which would be a big absence for the team. As we know, it's always a big absence when Messi's not there, but in a game like this, one of those do-or-die matchups in the League's Cup, it would be bad if he's not there. But there's good news. Luis Suarez scored. And he spoke to Michelle and others at length on Tuesday about his struggles this season, how much he's enjoying this stage of his career with his friends, his future plans. Suarez being right again for this team is big. We'll dive into that a little bit, along with some statements that Benja made that were a little bit overblown by some media and didn't sit well with Javier Mascherano. We'll have a reaction to that. Plus, the Drake calendar trade. Fede Redondo leaving to Spanish club Elche. We'll talk a little bit about that. And who the team is looking to acquire before the transfer window closes up. Gonzalo Piovi is one of the big names that has been floated around. And finally, we preview that big Tigres game. But let's start with Michelle. We never get tired of talking about Messi, and for a reason. He comes back and provides some big highlights. Especially, I love that back heel play that led to the goal. That finished things off with him and Suarez there at the end to beat the Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean that just shows the telepathy that they have. It shows the vision that he has. It shows the skill that he has. And Messi and Rodrigo de Paul did not start in that game. Messi had been injured, so they didn't want to have him play 90 minutes. Rodrigo had missed most of the week while he was doing visa paperwork in Argentina. So both of them started the first half. They were on the bench. And the team did okay. Jordi Alba scored on a beautiful, beautiful assist from Sergio Busquets. So all the stars had played big parts in that game against the LA Galaxy. So they're winning 1-0, and the place goes crazy when Messi and De Paul are coming in. Everyone is so excited to see them. And then wah, wah, LA Galaxy scores. And it's like, oh my goodness, now it's 1-1. They've got Messi in the game now. They've got DePaul in the game, and they're now tied. It goes all the way the second half, gets to the 84th minute. It looks like they're going to have to settle for a tie against the worst team in the league, which would be a pretty big downer coming off that Orlando loss. And then, voila, Lionel Messi to the rescue. He scores in the 84th minute, a beautiful goal from distance, and then 5 minutes later delivers that back heel exquisite pass to Suarez, and they end up winning 3-1. So at that point, everyone's in a good mood, but you could tell during that game, for those who were watching closely, that Messi was grabbing at his thigh, grabbing at his leg, touching, whatever. And as soon as the game ended, he bolted. He was gone. No exchanging of shirts, no chit-chatting. He was gone. And he has not been practicing this week. Tuesday, he did not train with the group. He trained a little bit off to the side. We didn't get to see him at all. Javier Mascherano said that he did come on later after the media left and trained on his own, but he has not trained with the group. And his status for the game tonight against Tigres, League Cup quarterfinal, is up in the air. And like you said, that would be a big loss, not just for just the spectators and the TV, but for the team, because they clearly look what happened to LA Galaxy. I mean, they were doing okay, but they would have settled for a tie probably against the LA Galaxy, and then Messi comes in and they win the game and get 3 points.
Yeah, it's such an energizer for their offense. I mean, even now that they have Rodrigo de Paul, and even now that Suarez seems to be kind of rounding back into his old form, you still want him there. I mean, I'm sitting there, it's 1-1, and I'm watching the game, and he makes that play where he jukes the defender, turns around, just fires it, and I turn to my wife and I'm like, it's like on easy level for him. Like, look at this. Like you're in
Yes.
the 80th minute,
No one else.
and it's like nothing. It's
No,
like
people don't. Yeah. Other players do not make that play. Other players might try to make that play and take a shot, and the shot would not go in. It
Yeah,
would go high, it would clank off the bar, it would go wide. He is just so precise. He's so lethal, and he's really good. The guy is really, really good. And then that's not enough. That would have been enough. I mean, that was the go-ahead goal. They would have won 2-1. But then just for icing on the cake, let me help my friend Luis Suarez, who's had a tough go this year. Let me just help him and deliver him this little backheel pass on a silver platter, and make it so that he can also enjoy and get a goal tonight.
yeah,
So he just provides so much. He provides so much energy, and it won't be the same team without him. And the other thing is, the Tigres coach was talking yesterday. He was asked how is it different to prepare when Messi is going to play and when Messi's not, or when you don't know if he is. And he said, well, it's still a very good team with a lot of very good players, but a lot of your defensive focus is on Messi when he's on the field. Everyone has to have at least one eye on Messi. And when he's not there, everybody can just focus on everybody else, and everyone doesn't have to have half of their attention on number 10. If
right.
number 10 is not there, it's a much easier team to defend.
So this was a mild thigh injury, at least the way it was described the last time. Re-aggravation. What are they? What's coming? What's the word coming out of the little bit of word that you're hearing from Messi's potential?
Yeah, it just seems like it's the same situation. It's a hamstring, you know, aggravated, tweaked, whatever you want to say. He went in. Javier Mascherano said after the game the other day that, he just always wants to play. He said, you have to understand, this is what makes Leo Leo. He wants to be on the field every single game, every single minute. That is where he is happy. He is happy when he's playing. He is not happy when he's not playing. And he said, we try as a coaching staff to encourage him to maybe take it a little slow, whatever. But he feels that he knows his body better than anybody. And when he says he's ready to play, he's ready to play. Now, in this case, did he come back too soon? Who knows? It's impossible to really know. But he did come back. He did finish the game, but he was clearly a little bit bothered during the game. And then, like I said, after the game, he could not have gotten off the field faster. So,
Right.
it was an indication that there was something wrong, and there definitely was. So we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. This is a big game. It's a cup game. Back in the few months ago, we were saying, who cares about Leagues Cup, whatever. Now that they're in the middle of it, all of a sudden, people care about Leagues Cup because they're playing
Yeah.
Tigres, a Mexican power. And we're going to, when we preview the game later, we'll talk about why this is such a big matchup. But it's a
Yeah.
big matchup against a traditional power in Mexico with a lot of Argentine players on
Yeah.
the team, too.
I'll say this for the Leagues Cup. I think it's been a little better this year because of this cross meshing of having MLS versus the Liga MX every single matchup. I think it's made it for a lot
Yes.
more fun, a lot more crossover. So it's made it better. But one of the things with Messi out of the lineup and Rodrigo de Paul out of the starting lineup was giving Fafa a chance to start, giving Benja a chance to start again. Fafa especially, I think people were clamoring for Fafa to get more minutes. He does, and he shows you, even though they didn't score, but he does have he showed the spark that he can bring to that offense. A lot of quickness, creating in the open field.
Yes. Yeah. He brings a different dimension. He brings a completely different dimension. And, in a way, maybe it's taken some time for the other Barcelona players to mesh with him because he plays a different way. They're used to the short passes, possession, all that. And Fafa, provides speed. He provides a different element. But I think, that can be very helpful to them. A surprise, a different element every once in a while. Have somebody who can just, sprint up the field with incredible speed. And he's also good with his head, which I know he's not tall, but he's a very good leaper. He's really good on set pieces. He definitely brings a spark, and it was nice for him to have a chance to finally start. We always kept saying, "Oh, he's going to start whenever they bench Messi." Well, that didn't happen. I mean, not Messi, but Suarez. Suarez ends up playing, but Fafa is in the starting lineup with him. And then Benja, with Fede Redondo gone, which we'll talk about those trades. With Fede Redondo gone, Benja got to start, and it was interesting because he's a young guy, he's an honest kid, and a few days before the game, he was asked, and I feel, my opinion, has been completely blown out of proportion, but I'll bring it up because there's been a lot of headlines about it. Benja was asked by a reporter, is it difficult for you to prepare for games when you don't know game to game which position you're going to play in? Because he's been used as a utility man. Javier Mascherano has said that, for a guy like Benja to get minutes with the roster as crowded as it is at midfield, and now with the addition of Rodrigo de Paul, with Yannick Bright coming back in after his injury, Javier Mascherano has said the only way that someone like Benja can get minutes is to be able to be plugged into different positions. And his versatility is very valuable. His versatility is what makes him valuable. So a reporter asked him, yes, you're playing all these different positions. One game you're in the middle, one time you're on the left, one time you're on the right. You even had to play left back when Jordi Alba was out and Noah Allen was out. Is it difficult to prepare? And he said, yes. He said, it's very hard to have to prepare when you don't know going into a game where you're going to be playing. It's very different to play on the left, on the right, in the middle. And it would be much easier if I would know, what position I'm going to play. Now, he was not saying, I don't like Javier Mascherano and he should be playing me in the same position every time. He was merely saying, the way I interpreted it, that it's harder to prepare when you don't have a set position. When you are a utility player who's being used all over the place, it is harder to prepare. And he even said during that interview, he said, but this is the way that I'm getting minutes because there are so many players with more experience than me. I'm very young. And, the way that I get on the field is because I am versatile and I can play in different positions. Well, headline that same afternoon online. Messi's teammate frustrated with playing time, lashes out, whatever. I mean, the headlines were really, sensational, not accurate. They did not put it into context. And then what happened is Javier Mascherano was asked about it at the press conference after the game, and he said, I think it's unfortunate that Ben has said those comments because I think, he explained again, when he's going to start, it's not that he doesn't know if he's going to start or he's not. He said, I don't just flip a coin on the day of the game and decide where players are going to play. He said, when he's going to start, he knows exactly where he's going to be. It's just when you are a player coming off the bench, it is situational. It depends what the situation is. And so it depends if someone gets injured, if someone is on a yellow card, you may have to fill in for that player or the other player. And therefore, you don't know going into the game where you're going to be playing. So I think it was kind of a big misunderstanding, but it got a lot of headlines. And Javier said that, Benja's young, and when he's being interviewed, he needs to, with more experience, he will learn how to express himself in a way that won't get misinterpreted.
Yeah, it's always
a
challenge.
Benja drama.
Yeah, it's always a challenge because you don't know how sometimes you could be taken out of context, and we've seen that. I mean, not to say it only happens in this sport because it doesn't only happen in this
You
sport.
cover high school kids, and you cover high school kids, and young people in particular. They just say things. They're honest, and they say things, and they don't have as much experience with reporters.
I mean, but then again, sometimes you deal with either reporters that kind of have the ethics or a conscience, and the fact that okay, I'm going to protect this kid from himself a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to miss
exactly, not misquote. Right, but put it in context. Put it in context.
Kids mouth off and things like that. I mean, yeah, and again, Benja, like I've said on the show before, it's hard to believe. Like I feel like it wasn't that long ago he's kicking the ball around there in Key Biscayne for Master Academy. Well, it was not that long. And I even did a game. I think I mentioned this. I did a game last year where he showed up to support the Makos over there, and he looked like one of the guys. Like he looked like he could still go out there and play for Mass Academy. He
Yeah,
has
he's very young. He's 20. He's a
base.
20-year-old
Yeah,
kid. He's a young guy. He's done so much and he's playing at such a high level that, you forget sometimes he's 20
yeah,
years old. He's a college age student. And so, I don't think he said anything wrong. He really was just saying that it's harder to prepare when you don't know where you're going to be. But there was context to that. He wasn't
right,
just blasting the coaching staff. And that's how some of the headlines read.
right.
So that was
Well,
the drama with Benja.
yeah. Well, switching gears to Luis Suarez, a guy who has been
Someone with a
blasted,
lot of
someone with a
experience.
lot of
Someone with
experience,
a
but
lot of
yeah, the
experience.
other end of that spectrum, who has been blasted a lot. Speaking of, by fans for his slumping struggles this year, we had a lot to say on Tuesday. Let's take a look at. We have a few clips to play from his interview. Let's start with the first one here, as Suarez goes over how this season has gone for him.
Buenos días, Luis. Michelle Kaufman, Miami Herald. Quería saber si puedes evaluar esta temporada en lo personal de ti, cómo te va, cómo te sientes, y también la pregunta que creo que muchísima gente tiene es si tienes planes para el fin de año, porque no has firmado para el año que viene, no sé si sabes lo que vas a hacer, entonces quería preguntar eso también. Gracias.
Bueno, primero que nada pedir disculpas por haber llegado un poco tarde, pero estábamos entrenando, trabajando. Después, obviamente que a nivel personal, siendo delantero, uno quiere participar más en goles y ayudar más al equipo en la faceta de goleador, digamos. Pero yo soy muy autocrítico conmigo mismo, sé que a veces no es que pueda dar más, sino que puedo aportar más al equipo y a veces por circunstancias o de definir mal o momentos malos que pasa uno, que es normal dentro del fútbol, no me toca ayudar en esa parte y bueno, me autocritico yo mismo, ¿no? Por no ayudar al equipo. Pero sí hay momentos del cual no hago goles, pero siento que ayudo al equipo y eso ya a mí me deja tranquilo. Lo importante acá es ayudar al equipo, a que Inter siga creciendo, a que Inter gane partidos, que es lo que queremos, y conseguir títulos. Después, obviamente, a nivel individual ya se verá a fin de temporada, a ver qué es lo que hice durante todo el año. Y después, a la hora de tomar la decisión de acá a fin de año, no se sabe nunca. En el fútbol siempre tenés planes del cuales a veces salen bien, salen mal, pero lo que me toca ahora en estos momentos es disfrutar de esta etapa que estoy viviendo, que estoy viviendo acá en Inter, y bueno, después ya se verá qué va a pasar.
Seguimos en la primera fila.
Yeah, so for those of people who don't really get a chance to speak with Luis Suarez very much, and I wrote a whole story about him, so I hope you read it at miamiherald.com. About the whole interview that he did. Luis Suarez, even though he's so fiery on the field and everything, but in a press conference setting, he's really he's calm. He likes to have. I mean, he seems to enjoy speaking. I don't want to say enjoy, but he's very good at press conferences. Every press conference that we've had with him, which haven't been that many, he's very thoughtful. He's very introspective. He also gives a lot of good perspective on the team. He's very well spoken, very, very well spoken. Also, you notice that he apologized for being late, which is something most athletes don't do. He wasn't that late. He was just a few minutes late, and they were in training, which is why he was late. But he starts off by apologizing for being late, which I think shows what kind of person he is. So anyway, I'm just pointing out that away from the field, he's a much calmer dude than he is when he's on the field. He said as a goal scorer, obviously as a forward, as a striker, you want to score goals. That's what you want to do. And it's been very difficult when he doesn't score goals. He's very self-critical. And, everyone has been criticizing him, but nobody is more critical of him than him. He's very critical of himself. He said he's very self-critical. It's very hard on him when he's going through these slumps, when he's not finishing, but he tries to take solace in knowing that he is still helping the team. He has 15 assists, by the way, on the season over all competitions, which leads the team. And he said that makes him feel good, that makes him feel a little bit at ease, that he is helping the team, because the goal at the end of the day is to win titles. And then as far as, what's his future plans for the end of the season, because he has not signed an extension. His contract will expire. He'll be 39 in January. he said, we'll have to wait till the end of the season and see what did I accomplish over the course of the season. And that will determine what it is. Sometimes you make plans and they work out and sometimes they don't work out. Right now, I just need to enjoy the phase that I'm in right now. And at the end of the season, we will evaluate, between he and the club will evaluate what his future will be.
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, like you said, I mean, that impressed like all the way, like the apology, like the courtesy that he's got with the media and stuff. You're right, like that you don't see that very often at all, especially from players of his stature. You know what I mean? So, but let's dive into another clip from Suarez talking a little bit more about this season.
Acá Luis, ¿cómo te va? Federico San Román de Diario Le. Quería preguntarte cómo valorás tu paso por Inter Miami hasta el momento, la reconexión con Messi después de tanto tiempo de estar juntos en el Barcelona. Y recién hablabas y mencionabas la palabra disfrutar. ¿Qué es lo que más disfrutás en esta etapa como futbolista?
Bueno, obviamente que es una etapa muy linda la que estamos viviendo a nivel de compañerismo, de amistad que tenemos tanto con Leo como con Bus y con Jordi. Ahora se sumó Rodri. Son jugadores que yo he compartido vestuario con ellos y hoy en una etapa del cual uno a medida cada vez se va cerrando la etapa esta del futbolista, la vas disfrutando más por estar rodeado de amigos, de compañeros de fútbol y que tratamos de hacer lo mejor dentro de la cancha. El tema es que nosotros somos muy exigentes con nosotros mismos. Hay mucha gente que critica o que puede tener su pensamiento de que la MLS vienen a retirarse o vienen a estar más tranquilos de vacaciones. Y ustedes no ven y yo sigo, perdón por la palabra, sigo puteando dentro de la cancha, me sigo calentando. Nuestros compañeros, tenemos jugadores en nuestro equipo que se pelean con los rivales, pero porque tenemos ese ADN competitivo de querer ganar a cualquier cosa que estemos compitiendo y eso lo vamos a llevar siempre y fue lo que nos hizo llevar a lo más alto de nuestra carrera y vamos a seguir siendo así hasta que terminemos y después obviamente que estamos en una etapa disfrutando tanto con Leo, que me preguntabas, porque nuestro deseo hace años era poder terminar nuestra carrera juntos y bueno, tratamos de disfrutarla de la mejor manera posible, muchas veces nos divertimos, muchas veces no, porque hemos tenido frustraciones como este tiempo y el año pasado, pero bueno, la etapa de disfrutar la tenemos que disfrutar al máximo, tenemos hijos grandes que hoy en día es lindo que se queden con esa imagen, que nos vean a nosotros disfrutar, porque también es lo lindo del fútbol, ¿no?
Well, he said a lot there. He said, he was asked, you said that you're enjoying this phase of your career. Can you expound on that a little bit? What is it that you're enjoying so much about this phase in your career? And he said, this is a beautiful era that we are living together as friends and teammates. He was talking about playing with Messi, with Busquets, with Alba, and with Rodrigo de Paul, whom he played with at Atletico Madrid. He said, we share a lot of history together. We're now in a stage in our careers where every day the end of our careers are a little bit closer. So you enjoy and you appreciate every day a little more. He said, there are critics who maybe think that you come to MLS to retire or to be on vacation. Everyone can see that that is not true. We have not stopped since we arrived. He said, I am still as fired up about games and, fighting and playing with as much passion as I was before. He said, we all are competing so hard like we always did. That's in our DNA. We want to win everything. All of those guys, he said, we want to win everything. That's what took us to the top of our careers. We will keep being that way until our careers end. And he said that, his dream, he and Messi for a long time, their dream was to end their careers together. And so, that is still a dream that he would love to have them retire together with Messi and finish their careers together. But at the very least, this final stage of their careers is together. And he said that it means a lot to him and it's very enjoyable because also their kids are old enough now that they can see their dads happy and enjoying being on the field. And he said another part of the interview later that after so many years in Europe, under a lot of pressure at the elite level, that here in the United States, it's not that they're not competing hard. He said, we still are competing hard and we want to win just as much, but our day-to-day life is a little bit calmer and a little more normal, and they can enjoy family time and downtime more than they did before. So he really does seem extremely happy, even though obviously he has 6 goals. Last year he had 21 goals in MLS season, and he was one of the leaders for the Golden Boot. He had 21 goals. Right now he has 6 goals with 10 games to go, but he does have 10 assists in MLS, 15 assists overall. He talked about all of the criticism. How does he manage the criticism? Here's what he had to say about that.
No, primero que nada es no hacer caso a lo que dicen, y menos a la edad que tengo hoy en día. Las críticas, ¿no? Yo siempre dije que las críticas uno lo tiene que fortalecer. Hay muchos jugadores que la crítica lo debilita, y eso es malo para uno mismo, es malo para el grupo, es malo para la gente que te rodea. Pero si vos te rodeas de gente que te transmita positivismo, que te transmita tranquilidad, que te haga ver que estás pasando no por un mal momento, sino que te haga ver que realmente vos la seguís peleando, seguís luchando, eso es bueno. Pero yo no me quedo pensando ni lamentando por los goles que erro, las pelotas que pierdo. Al contrario, siempre fui igual. Mi debut en Nacional en el año 2005 el equipo tuvo 11 situaciones de gol y erré 8. Imagínate, yo tenía 18 años. Si me hubiese bajoñado en ese momento, no hubiese llegado hasta donde estoy. Y eso fue lo que hice siempre, nunca bajoñarme a pesar de errar, ni escuchar las críticas, ni tampoco, nosotros decimos el tono, nosotros ni me como el cuento cuando hablan maravillas mío. Solamente trabajo e intento hacer siempre de la mejor manera posible.
Again, very insightful. I mean, I really wish that we got to speak to Luis Suarez more, because I have to say, of the whole team, he is one of the best. He is one of the best speakers. He is one of the, his interviews, his answers are always thoughtful. He listens to the question, he answers fully. Some players don't speak at all. Some speak in short answers. He always gives you something. He always gives you something. He said, he was asked about how do you manage all the criticism. He said, first of all, you can't pay attention to what people say and to the criticism, especially at my age. He said, critics don't bother me. There are many players who let critics bother them and discourage them, and that's bad for you. It's bad for your teammates. It's bad for the people around you. You have to surround yourself with people who transmit positivity and support. He said he does not obsess over missed opportunities and missed scoring chances. He said, on the contrary, that he's never done that. He said, even in my debut, in his first professional game, he said, with Nacional in Uruguay in 2005, okay, we're talking 20 years ago, he said, the team missed 11 scoring chances, and 8 of those were on me. I missed 8 of 11 scoring chances. He said, and I was 18 years old. Imagine if I had let that discourage me. I wouldn't have gotten to where I am today. He said, I've never listened to critics, and I also don't buy all the hype when people say great things about me either. He said he doesn't listen to the critics. He also doesn't listen to the hype. All he does is try to work hard and do the best he can. And, I think that's a great perspective that he has, because he has been criticized a lot. People have been trashing him on social media, the fans, everyone's saying, he should be benched. He shouldn't be on the team. He's too old, whatever. A lot of people have been saying that, and he just carries on being a pistolero, and he has scored in 2 of the last 3 games. Okay, he did score. He scored against Pumas. He scored the other day against LA Galaxy. Again, I think maybe I could have scored with that pass that Messi made. Well, maybe not, but Messi made it pretty easy for him to get that goal, and I'm sure he was very thankful that his buddy did that for him. But he's having a little bit of a resurgence here in the last few games. But again, I think it's easy for fans to trash athletes. But when you get to meet them face to face and you get to actually speak to them and listen to them, I think you get a different perspective. And that's what we, as sports journalists, I feel is our job. is to convey to fans who don't get to meet these athletes one-on-one, to let them know what are they really like as people. And when you're just sitting there on social media trashing people, that's easy to do, but it's a human being, and he's a thoughtful, intelligent human being.
And something that I think it's easy not to, it's so not easy. So it's very hard is keeping like an even keel through everything. Because I like one thing he said too. We're talking about obviously the downside, the upside too. And I like the expression "comerme cuento" is basically like drink the Kool-Aid. It's
Yes,
basically drink the
exactly.
Kool-Aid. It is also when you're praised and you're elevated and you're put on this super high pedestal, is not letting that also affect you, where you get overconfident and you stray from what makes you great in the first place. That's a challenge too, because there's a lot that, and we see it all the time in sports where teams get so high and then the next week or something have a major letdown. We've seen it with this team a bunch of times. So leveling that part off too. So again, like you said, very insightful. And yeah, he has been breaking out. He's in addition to what you've already said, that it has reached the score sheet, there's a lot that hasn't. I mean, the other day he hits the post in the first few minutes against the Galaxy. I mean, and as a distributor,
he's had a couple goals for offsides too.
I mean, he's a striker.
Offside goals.
He's a striker.
Yeah.
And well, but the reason I say that is he's a striker. But if you look at some of the assists he's had lately, I mean, even the one that there was an offside that took away another one where he just backheeled it to Segovia. And it was
a beautiful.
Amazing,
I thought it was amazing. Yeah, and it was called offside from the beginning of the sequence.
Right.
From the beginning of the sequence of that goal, which was like 4 or 5 passes, they ruled that the initial pass in that sequence, Segovia was offside. But that was a beautiful, another back heel, really beautiful pass from Suarez. And one of the things I wanted to say that I have in my story that was not in any of these clips is that Suarez said, he was asked about the assists because he has had so many assists this year. And he said, yes, everyone says that strikers are egomaniacs, that we have big egos, but I am clearly a very generous number 9 because I have all these assists. And he started laughing. He said, we're supposed to be all about ego when we're number 9s and strikers, but I'm actually a very generous striker because I'm, distributing the ball and getting a lot of assists. So he really has. He's been a distributor. Last season, he had 21 goals. This year, only 6, but a lot of distributions, and he's been involved in a lot of goals this year. So anyway, I'm glad we had a chance to speak with him going into this, stretch now with the Tigres game. And he will have to step up again. If Messi does not play, he's going to have to step up again. And it was really interesting to me to hear from him. He spoke for almost 30 minutes, which is really a lot for somebody of his stature. So glad that we could share that with all of you, and you guys can get a little bit of behind the scenes with El Pistolero.
Yeah, the goal contributions. That's why that's like a big, important, impactful stat, because his hasn't plummeted that much, mainly because of those assists this year. So, but let's talk a little bit about the moves and potential moves to come. Drake Callender, as we said, traded to the Charlotte FC. Redondo gone. Well, there's rumors going around about Gonzalo Piovi. What's the latest, Michelle, on potential moves with this team in the next few days?
Yeah, I think people were surprised, not surprised. Drake really has not been able to get on the field this year. He's been injured all year, but you're talking about a guy who was the team one of the, co-team captain with Lionel Messi. This is a guy who's been wearing the captain's armband. He was such a big figure on this team in 2023. He basically won the League's Cup. If you recall that long shootout, he not only made great saves, then he ends up scoring.
Best shootout I've ever seen. Penalty.
It was
best shootout I've ever seen. Nobody missed. Yeah, it was just blocks.
Nobody missed, and he ended up, being the hero of that game, and then to win that League's Cup. And then last year, he was a big reason that they won the Supporters' Shield. There were so many games. Messi was out 2.5 months. There were so many games where his saves and his play was critical in a lot of games. So this is a guy who, played so well that he was getting called up to the U.S. national team, which is how he got injured. He got injured at a U.S. national team camp in January, and was never able to fully recover, ended up having surgeries for a sports hernia. And his contract was due to expire at the end of the season. He had not reached an agreement with Inter Miami to renew, and there was a lot of interest in him around the league, a lot of interest. He was a very valuable player to the team as far as what they could get for him. In the meantime, while he was out, Oscar Rustati kind of took over. They signed him to a new extension, for a lot of money. And he happens to also be Argentinian, and he's Messi's friend and all that stuff. So things were going to be difficult for Drake coming back. And then Rocco Rios Novo did well as the backup, even when Ustadi was injured. So Drake was valuable, a valuable commodity. They got $750,000 for him, $400,000 this year, $350,000 next year that they can use for salary for other players. So he's off to Charlotte. I wish him all the best. He is one of the classiest athletes, that's ever worn that shirt. And that one of the reasons he was a captain. An incredibly classy individual, so nice to everybody. Everybody from the janitorial staff to Lionel Messi. He treats everybody the same. Again, that is not like most athletes. So Drake is first-class individual. I wish him nothing but the best. The only good thing that happened to him in the last year, he had a beautiful child. That's not the only thing, but he has a beautiful daughter, so he's enjoying being a dad. And wish him nothing but the best in Charlotte. Fede Redondo saw the writing on the wall. He was not starting, and then they bring in Rodrigo de Paul. Same position. In addition, Yannick Bright playing better. They have Benja, being plugged in all over the place, like we mentioned. So Fede Redondo wanted more playing time. It was not going to happen here. So he went to Elche in Spain, which happens to be owned by his agent. His agent owns the team. So it's no surprise why he ended up on that team. So he is going to be a starter there. Yeah, he's going to be a starter there for sure. I'm assuming he's going to be a big figure there. He's going to get a lot of playing time, which is what he wanted. So that's why he's gone. Javier Mascherano said on Tuesday that they are looking to sign 2 more players, but they are not planning to get rid of anybody. That any rumors you see out there about players leaving, he wants all the players who are on the roster right now to finish the season with them. But they are trying to get 2 players. One of them, like you mentioned, Gonzalo Piovi from Cruz Azul, an Argentine defender. Surprise, surprise, he has the Argentine passport, but he is a good defender. He is versatile. He plays on the left side. He
most important part of the resume.
The passport. Anyway, he's a good player, though. He's been playing for Cruz Azul in Mexico. He has experience, but he's 30 years old, I believe. So he's, in a good age range. And they're talking to him. And then he said an offensive player, but there were no names. He would not say who that is. But he said a defensive player, an offensive player, that they could add 2 more players, but they're not looking to subtract anybody. And, the window closes at the end of this week. So we'll see if they can get those deals done.
That's good for continuity too, because let's say, because we are getting close to the stretch run here. We're not only in the stretch run of the Leagues Cup, the stretch run of the MLS season too. So
yeah, there's 10 games left. There's 10 games left.
Yeah, you're trying to add pieces, but at the same time, it's good to send that message to the rest of your group saying, okay, you don't need to feel like you're on the hot seat here. You don't have to feel like like you're with us and we need you here for the long haul to get this done, to get this championship. So I think in both ways, it sends a good message to the team to do it that way too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think he wants, because it's such a crowded roster. And one of the hardest parts, I think, of being the coach of this team, whether it was Tata, whether it was, whether it's Javier Mascherano now, is managing all the egos and managing, how do you get all these players minutes when there are so many high quality players on the team? And there are certain players that we know are untouchable. Okay, let's face it. There are 5 players, to be honest, every week, except when Messi's injured or someone's injured, but every week that everyone's healthy, 5 players on that lineup are written in Sharpie. Okay, they are written in, they're written in permanent ink. Those 5 are going to start. Those 5 are going to start regardless. We've seen that. We've seen that, especially with Suarez this year. With all the struggles he's had, he has been in the starting lineup every single game. So 5 players. Javier Mascherano every week is filling 6 spots. One of them is the goalkeeper. So basically 5 players he gets to pick every week to decide who's going to play. 5 have been predetermined, and then there's the goalkeeper. So in order to keep all those people happy, satisfied, he's got to manage all of that. And I think it is important for them to at least get some playing time and feel that they are part of the plan, a part of the project.
If you're not one of those 5 and you're one of these like role players on the team, and the way they operate, from the outside looks like, oh my God, that's great. But think about it. You're like, okay, who are they going to bring in now? Who's another one that they're going to go get now? And you think, oh crap, he comes and he plays what I play. I'm screwed.
Right.
So that's good.
I think that's what Fede Redondo really wanted more minutes. He wasn't, of course, he loved, being Messi's teammate and all that, but that can only go so far. If you really want to play and you want to develop as a player, it's not that great to just be sitting on the bench and watching your heroes play in front of you. You want to play, you want to be on the field. So, it's a balancing act.
Yep. Well, let's wrap up by looking ahead to what's coming up on the pitch for this team. We've mentioned tonight the big one with Tigres to see if they advance. If they do, they would go on to the semifinals to face potentially a scary matchup against Orlando City, but that's later. They got to focus on Tigres tonight. Later this week, obviously, I'm going to mention it because of the fact that it won't be before our next episode. They jump back into MLS play after this game, taking on DC United on Saturday at 7:30 up at DC. DC United, obviously not one of the better teams in the standings, but again, they can't take them lightly. Inter Miami, to give anybody that hasn't seen a quick recap, in the MLS standings, they still have those 3 games in hand, which is huge. And now they're back in position. They got a little help where they can overtake the leaderboard if they're able to take care of business and get as many points as they can. Those 9 extra points that are available, because now they're 7 points behind Cincinnati, who is sitting there at 52 in first place. Philadelphia, they're only 6 points behind. They're in second place. Nashville and Orlando tied at 47 apiece. Miami with 45, now tied with Columbus in 5th place. So it's tightening up in the Eastern Conference. So it's going to be an interesting stretch run for this team that starts Saturday. But before that, this Tigres matchup, Michelle.
Yeah, the Tigres matchup, this is a really good matchup. I mean, this is a traditional power in Mexico. Tigres is one of the stronger teams. Tigres is one of the teams that was considered, that it was going to make a deep run into this tournament, which it is in the quarters, and now plays against Inter Miami. Some people are saying, this could have been a final with these 2 teams, that Tigres is a very strong team. And like Miami, very Argentine heavy. Okay. Their coach, like Mascherano, is from Argentina. Their coach also, Pizarro, is from Argentina, has played with some of these players. He played for Tigres for a long time, and he's a new coach, a young coach like Mascherano also. Both coaches are from Argentina. Between the 2 teams, there are 13 players from Argentina. 13 players from Argentina in this game. 9 of them are from Inter Miami. 4 are from Tigres, and one of them is a big star that just joined the team, Angel Correa. He came from Atletico Madrid this summer, and he was a teammate of Rodrigo de Paul. So he and de Paul were teammates as early as June. They were teammates with Atletico Madrid, and then they both came over to the Americas. De Paul came to Inter Miami, and Correa went to Mexico to Tigres. So they're going to be facing each other. And ever since he joined that team, he's been playing really well. He had 2 goals in his first game. He had 2 goals in his second game, and another goal. He's had like 5 goals over 3 games. That is a player who they have to watch. He's on the Argentine national team with De Paul and with Messi. So these are 2 teams that have a lot of familiarity, okay? A lot of Argentinian familiarity. In fact, Oscar Stadi said at one point, and we're going to hear from him in a minute, that instead of putting the ball at the center of the field at the start of the game, they're going to put a cup of mate in the middle of the field
Right.
instead of the ball, because there are so many players from Argentina in this game. So it's a game against a Mexican team. The Mexican teams, as we've already seen in the first phase of this tournament, are very passionate. They're very physical. It's going to be a fiery game. If tempers are going to be flaring, I'm sure. and a lot of Argentinian familiarity. So let's hear from one of the 9 Argentine players on this team, Oscar Ustari.
Es que yo el primer día que me tocó hacer una conferencia de prensa respecto a este torneo, siempre dije que competir internacionalmente es fantástico. Por ahí nosotros ya estamos grandes y ya lo hemos hecho muchas veces y sabemos de qué se trata, pero de cara a los chicos, a los jóvenes, son torneos que te hacen competir de una cierta manera que a diario no lo tenés en la liga. Todos compiten para ganar, de hecho es un deporte que se hizo para eso, pero es importante tener este tipo de torneos y estos tipos de encuentros. Nosotros, quiera o no, mañana tenemos a uno de los mejores rivales, si no el mejor de la Liga MX, entonces para nosotros es importante tener este tipo de roces porque la maduración del jugador joven le viene bien estos tipos de partidos, así que hay que aprovecharlo.
¿Cómo lo veían allá en México? ¿Cómo
lo veíamos nosotros? No, lo veíamos de que teníamos que competir internacionalmente y obviamente cuando vos representabas una institución siempre como que la obligación es ganar y me parece que es una liga que a medida que pasó el tiempo y no porque hoy estoy acá, no es cierto que se entienda bien, ha crecido y me parece que no tiene techo, va a seguir creciendo de tal manera que los últimos torneos incluso a nivel selección Estados Unidos ha estado muy bien.
¿Qué esperan de Tigres mañana, del equipo de Tigres? ¿Qué nos puede decir?
Bueno, potencia, sabemos la clase de jugador que tiene, el plantel, la jerarquía, los recambios. Ahora se le acaba de agregar un campeón del mundo, ¿no es cierto?, que viene afiladísimo, entonces tendremos que tomar nuestros recaudos, confiar en nuestras herramientas, estamos de local y sabemos que va a ser un partido que me parece que van a ser de los 90 minutos más difícil que vamos a tener en esta temporada.
Oscar Study, they're saying at the end, this may be one of the toughest, if not the toughest 90 minutes that we're going to have this season. He played in Mexico. He knows the league well. He said, this is a Liga MX is a very good league. United States, MLS is growing. Liga MX, a very good league. He said it's really important for us to play international competition. He said those of us who are older have done it a lot, but for the young players, it's really very valuable to be able to play international competition, which they're getting to do in this tournament. As far as Tigres, he said this is a team with power, with quality, with depth on their roster, and now they've just added a World Cup champion who's in peak form. And he said, this is going to be a very, very tough 90 minutes, and it could be, one of the toughest games that they've played all season. That's how he worded it. So I agree. I think this is going to be a really, really interesting game, and Messi may not be there. He did not train yesterday. So usually when a player doesn't train the day before a game, they typically are not in the lineup. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, odds don't look good, but you never know. I mean, who knows? Maybe
it's
even
Messi. All rules go out the window with Messi. It's Messi.
And honestly, even if he doesn't start, if he can come in, give you 20, 30 minutes there at the end in a tight ball game, you take it.
Yeah.
And you roll with it and you get whatever you can. So we'll see what happens. This will be interesting to see if this team can keep pushing further toward a potential second Leagues Cup championship. We'll be back to recap what happens next week there, and then obviously what happened on the road at DC against the cellar-dwelling DC United, and see if Miami can get 3 more points that they need to continue the climb up the Eastern Conference standings. But until then, we thank you for watching the show. Remember to catch us always at YouTube, MiamiHerald.com, and if you're listening to us on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you listen to your podcast. And until then, for Michelle Kaufman, I'm Andre Fernandez. Thanks for watching Inside Inter Miami.